Hello guys, so welcome. This is my fourth and final video of my water fast experience, and as you may have noticed, it's gonna be in English for a change. The reason being is that I do have quite a few friends who do not speak Czech, and for them to also be able to share my experience, I've decided to go in English for this time. So those of you who speak mainly Czech and are not that good at English, my apologies, but I'm trying to be here for everyone, so get over it. So yesterday morning I finished my 5-day water fast, and originally it was supposed to be 10-day water fast, but I've decided to go for 5 days instead only. And while saying only, I mean 5 days is still a lot. I mean, I've had some previous experience with fasting. I've been doing intermittent fasting for past half a year, so I take it as a huge experience. By the way, for those of you who do not know, intermittent fasting means that you only eat in 6 to 8 hours window a day. Means I usually have lunch and then I have dinner, and then I do not eat for next 14 to 18 hours, depending on how active I'm the day and how I stay at work, etc. And this regime promotes a lot of positive things in your body, but that aside, I've also been doing 24 hours fasting for once or twice a month for the past 2 years. So I do take that as a small experience, which has turned out to be really good for my health, I must admit. It started out when I got first into self-development and started studying Zen, meditation and Eastern culture in general. And at first, of course, I was very skeptic, and I thought it was, meditation as the thing that monks do in American movies and then they start to levitate. So I was hoping I would learn that too. Sadly, it didn't work out, but well, what can I say? But later, when I was learning more and more about not only the culture and the mindset, I've also been learning a lot about myself and my body, and this in some ways brought me to fasting. And I must say that since I started fasting, since I started trying this concept out, because for most of Western people it is somewhat unimaginable to go a few days without food, or a few hours without food, let alone a few days. So the idea is really, incomprehensible for some, because it's just something most of us are not used to. So one of the reasons why I wanted to try it out was to learn if it's even possible, because you know that you can go a few days without food, but actually trying it out is something very different. When I started this 5-day fast, everybody was like, oh, you cannot manage, you will get ill, and you will have a lot of problems after a couple of days. But the funny thing is that our body is actually capable of going days, even weeks, without food. It is biologically made to withstand such long time of not having sustenance. So when I think of it, we actually have so many mindsets that actually are limiting our potential. I'm not talking food, but in general now, that one of the reasons I wanted to try out was to learn if it's even possible for me, with my body and my health conditions, to be able to do something that we generally should be able to do, but have never tried. So that's one of the many reasons why I tried out this long-term fasting. And looking back at the overall experience, the first 2 days were definitely the hardest. They were not only mentally but also physically, because the first day, well, I started the first day with the mindset that I'm gonna go 10 days without food, and that's it, no problem. Well, I knew it's gonna be somewhat problem the first days. I said, okay, let's do it, because you've walked coming to Santiago and everybody was like, you cannot walk 100 kilometers. Well, I did it, no problem. This is the proof, by the way. And I saw with my sanctuary when I feel somewhat lost and not able to achieve my goals, I just look at it and say, well, you made it. But back to the topic of fasting. So when I started, I was like, okay, the first 2 days are gonna be the hardest. And the first day was mostly about, just putting the feeling of just eating something good aside. I was like, well, you could eat something delicious. You could go and have burrito or have, I don't know, a steak, guacamole. I love guacamole. I love steak. I love burritos. But I was like, okay, you can go and eat them and break your fast right at the beginning. Which, you can start tomorrow, of course, but, now you have limited time opportunity to do it, because even though it was only 10 days of fasting, it also takes another two weeks after that to actually get your body back to working and burning food for calories, for energy. So I knew it wasn't only 10 days, but more like a month, less than a month, to actually start and finish the fasting in the full scope. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so the first day was mostly about mentality. The second day was more physical wise, because my head started hurting a little bit. It wasn't like crazy headache, but I could feel that my body wasn't really comfortable with the idea of not eating for 24 hours already. But it wasn't something threatening, and it was something that I've experienced a few times previously when doing intermittent fasting. For example, when I was drinking the day before that. So I actually knew I knew the phase that I was getting into from previous experience. I was like, okay, it's gonna pass in a time. And eventually it did. And I didn't even have hunger the first day. I wasn't hungry because I was used to fasting for 24 hours, so it wasn't really a problem. I mean, what's 5 or 6 more hours of going without food when you're used to 18 hours fast? Of course, it's something different for people who eat carbs, mostly carbohydrates, because I eat high-fat, low-carb diet. So basically, for me, it's enough to eat 2 times a day and to eat loaded fats. And I'm good for the rest of the day. I'm good for the night and for half of the next day. No problem. But most of you who eat mainly carbohydrates, and you should really think about it, you have to eat like every 2 hours, or you're always hungry, you're weakened, in bad mood. Also, your insulin is spiking like crazy, which causes those other states, and as a result, and also can lead possibly to diabetes and other shitty problems. So that was basically a state of my body, saying, okay, we haven't eaten anything for quite some time, we should eat anything. And it was sort of defending itself by giving me these indications that I should eat, that my stomach wasn't hurting, but it felt like getting smaller and smaller and like pushed together, the feeling when you're hungry. So I was like, yeah, that's normal, it's biological, and that's basically your body defending. And what was the most interesting about the second day was trying to be mindful about my body, which what I was doing, I was meditating a lot and trying mindfulness to see what my body and my mind were actually doing in this state of fasting. It was really interesting to see that my body or my brain was telling me that I should eat. And it's funny because I consider my body, I consider human being, person, to be of 3 parts. The first part is the human body, which is basically machine. The second is the brain, which is sort of a computer. reacting on emotions and other things, and basically computer telling the machine what to do. And the third part is the personality, soul, if you will, or how we put it. So it was funny to see the communication between the brain, what it was telling myself, what I should do. It was like, hey, the shop is only like 2 minutes away. You can just put your clothes on and walk there, buy some food. You don't need to be hungry. I mean, you can only have, I don't know, 1 apple. That's it. That's all you need, or all you can get. But go and eat. So it was kind of funny to see what my body was doing and what my brain was doing in this state. And even though most of you don't see this important thing, for me, who I'm trying to be mindful and actually to learn the most I can about my body and how my biological and emotional reactions affect my behavior. This was really a huge lesson. So the second day passed, and I must admit I didn't feel very well in the evening. I was really weakened, and I thought that the third day is gonna be the hardest, because on the internet everybody was like, yeah, the third day is the hardest, you're gonna feel really miserable, your head is gonna burn, and your stomach is gonna hurt, and you're gonna be weakened, and it's gonna be insane, like in pain. I was like, okay, well, what can I do? I chose this, so I'm gonna go through it. And I woke up at the third day and was like, I didn't feel like super good, I didn't feel super bad. I felt mostly like the second day evening. So a little bit hungry, but I was like, okay, it's manageable, no problem. I mean no problem, just a little bit of headache, just a little bit. Not even enough to take Paralen or some pills. And it was I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. So I started cleaning up the flat, and then I read a book and went for a walk for a while, I think, yeah. And in the afternoon I was fine, because I think that by the afternoon, my body switched to ketosis, which means that instead of glycogenesis or glycogenesis, or what is it called, where the body burns glycogen for energy from food, while in ketosis it burns the underskin fat, your fat storage, and it is a state. Actually, your body goes through 4 states. The first one is it burns sugar or carbohydrates, because they have short energetic chain, and they're the fastest to burn and easiest to absorb and to burn for energy. Then it goes through fat, and after that it goes through the fat storage, the stored fat in your body. And long after it burns, only after it burns the fat that you have in your body storage, it goes and eats the muscles and the intestines. So the phase or starvation, which is dangerous, is after the end of ketosis. But when you consider human body my body having 21% of fat, underskin fat, it takes quite a while it would take me like, I don't know, a month, maybe 2, to go from 21 to like 5-8% of fat, which is below the healthy line and might become dangerous. So yeah, I mean 5 days are not a problem considering this. So my body switched to ketosis, and after that it was like I was doing a lot of stuff, so I wasn't really paying attention to my body. But after I finished, I sat for a while because I was a little bit tired, I was a little nosy. I was like, listen to my body, and it felt like I feel fine. My head doesn't hurt. My stomach doesn't growl or burn or anything. I have a lot of energy, more than in the morning, which is weird considering what I have done today. And so I was like, okay, this is fine. Completely fine. Ketosis is great. And I mean, no problem. if I went for a run or if I exercised, I would be really tired, but I wasn't because I didn't. Well, and so it was really interesting to know that your body actually, when it goes through this really difficult phase of not having food and before switching to ketosis, is really terrible. But after it switches to ketosis, it's like, yeah, okay, let's go on. No problem. I mean, there were some downsides of being in full ketosis, because what actually happens to your body is that your heartbeat slows down, your metabolism slows down, and your blood pressure lowers. So it might be actually dangerous for people who have low blood pressure in general. But for a healthy person, or more or less healthy person like myself, it was fine. And I only had to be really careful when I was getting up from one position to another. I had to go slowly, because if I made a sudden move, my head might start, I might start getting dazed. So I had to consider every movement, which it was funny because you had to be mindful about everything you did. I mean, every movement had to be thought through, calculated, and it was really interesting. Also, what was interesting was that while on ketosis, you do feel like you have a lot of energy, which you basically do, but also every activity drains your energy, and you don't make the normal 1,400-1,500 calories from ketosis. I think I haven't done research on how much energy you make on ketosis, but it's way lower than what you normally get while you eat food. So I actually had to be very conscious about every activity that I did, not to waste too much energy. And then you start considering things like, should I, well, because of cleaning up the whole day and moving a lot of things around, should I go and throw the trash can now, or should I do it tomorrow? Because if I do it now, I know I'm gonna be really tired after that, and I most likely will have enough energy just to go to bed and just lay in the bed and not do anything else. But if I go down three floors and then go up, tomorrow I might be able to do some more things today, like more cleaning, or I don't know, whatever. And also things like the body's temperature control, when your body actually accommodates for the temperature. If you, for example, I had to let the water that I was about to drink during the day to heat up a little bit to room temperature at least, because if I drank it cold, my body would have to use a lot of energy to warm itself up, which does drain a lot of energy. And it is you get to know it. So it's really interesting to learn those small things while in this state. And I mean, just for the sake of exploring more of what the body is all about, was really a huge lesson, and very giving. It was amazing. So on day 4 I felt completely fine. Basically, so was the day 5. I didn't feel hungry. I was full of energy. I normally went to work, and I worked the whole day. I was stressed a lot from work, even though I tried not to do as much. And well, it was noticeable that my brain output wasn't as high as it normally is. But at the same time, I mean, I couldn't work for 8 hours in a row. I just couldn't. It was so draining. So after 6 hours, I was like, zombie mood. But still, at the same time, I noticed that my thinking was clearer. I had, I was better at problem solving, just slightly better, but it was noticeable. And also I noticed that my sight was a little bit sharper, which is not something that I actually do notice, even though it was really slight, because I sleep very badly without optic lenses or glasses, and I could notice that without the glasses, because I basically know my flat. I could find anything while blind. I just know it. I could walk around in darkness and would find everything because I know where everything is. And without my glasses, I could see things more clearly, which was really weird. So actually, I was thinking of going for a permanent fast just to see better, but well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So yesterday I decided to quit a fast, and I actually ate some cooked veggies in the morning, then kept drinking kefir for the rest of the day, and had some salad for lunch. And I was a little bit afraid that my body wouldn't take it well after 5 days of not eating. But actually, surprisingly, it did very well. I mean, today I I had burger. I admit it, I had burger today, but I ate it for like an hour and a half. I was like, oh, this is so awesome, burger. So yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. And even though I'm trying to be mindful even while eating, I've never in my life eaten so slowly and so mindfully. Enjoying every bite of the food, every bit of taste in it. It's something people usually don't do. We usually just watch TV and just crunch everything we have all together and drink the beer and just watch TV series like zombies. And it's actually, by the way, one of the reasons why you get fat while eating and watching TV, because your brain focuses on the TV, not on the food, so it doesn't register what you eat. So basically you eat a shitload of food, but your brain doesn't notice, so it feels like you haven't eaten anything, so you're hungry, and then you eat again because you feel hungry, even though you are full. So basically you then eat more and become fat. Simple math, or actually... yeah, well... So to a final thought, after all this shitload of information and experience and everything, I must admit that fasting was interesting and good experience for me. And I definitely plan on trying it again in the future. Perhaps 7 or maybe even 10 days fast the next time. And like in January, maybe February. Because after all, fasting isn't about... If you do fasting for health reasons, for disease prevention and all, which is basically one of the reasons why I did it. It wasn't for losing weight, because what I lost in those 5 days, I somewhat gained back today from the burger, because my body still isn't used to it. So it's good as a short-term weight loss, but in long term, you have to do regularly, and you have to. It's not about not eating, but about eating properly and exercising to actually lose weight. So I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, I know. So actually, I'm gonna go for fasting, and the point of fasting isn't in not eating for a few days, or for a long time, but fasting for at least a few days on a regular basis. People who did for disease prevention fast 2 to 3 times a year for, 10 to 40 days. Some only fast for 10 days, some for 40. Some religions, most of the religions have fasting included, in the code for 10 to, again, from 10 days to a month. And for various reasons. And so, for those of you who think that fasting isn't healthy, I respect your opinion, but personally I think that for a healthy person, fasting is healthy. Of course, before you try fasting or anything of such nature, do consult with your doctor. Please do. I don't want to be responsible for any harm you might do on yourself. But I think that for a healthy person, fasting really is healthy. You have to do it consciously. You have to be careful. You have to learn a lot prior to doing it, or you should study a lot. And also, it may be beneficial for people who are really ill, such as cancer, people with cancer and diabetes, especially diabetes. And it might be harmful for people who are not used to fasting or are on high carb diet. For you, I would suggest to start with diet change. Start to eat differently. Preferably try, cutting on carbs, which is always a good idea. And if anything, I'm not saying you should go for fasting, but if anything, don't see your body as means of just doing something, but see it as a machine that is a part of you and affects everything that is happening in your life. Because if your body is ill, then your mind gets ill, and then your soul gets ill as well, and it means that it will affect your every decision, it will affect your everyday life, and in a negative way it will affect the length of your life if you're not living healthily. And it's not about eating salads and drinking juices. It's about mostly cutting on carbs, but if anything, you should. I'm not saying you should or should not eat something. It's up to you, and it's up to your research and what works the best for you. I personally have tried everything from veganism, vegetarianism, raw diet, high fat, low carb, high protein diet. I've tried so many things, so many detox diets, and it's also one of the reasons why I tried fasting, because I wanted to know for myself. And I know that everybody has different needs, and what works for one may not work for another. So I urge you, try what works for you and find the best what works for you. But please, if anything, try to care for your body, try to care for your mind, and trust me, you won't regret it. The worst thing that can happen is that your life will stay the same as it is. But most likely it will get way better. I know from my personal experience, and I really do wish that the good things that come from caring for your body will happen to you as well. That's it, guys. Shitload of time of listening to my English. Hope you understood what I was saying. Hope you got something from it. I hope you got motivated, perhaps. If anything, drop a comment below or write me a PM. If I know, I'll be happy to answer your questions and direct you to some more materials if you like to. And well, that's it. Good night, and hopefully it's another crazy experience of mine. A mic and night.